Hello, it is Joanie McMahon here today, and this is video number 47 of 90. Really happy to be here with you today, and I actually just got in from being outside and watching three very cool teenage boys show me tricks on their longboards. They were amazing. Anyway, so I'm just full of watching all of their great skills on that. And the message today, I wanted to use this particular quote, consult your higher self, to give you this message. And it's a powerful message today because this learning came to me out of a lot of contrast, out of creating the opposite of what I wanted. And the reason I did that was because I had no idea what what my higher self was, or my inner guidance. When I speak of higher self, I'm speaking about the version of ourself that we are all becoming. And when I speak about our inner guidance, I'm speaking about how when we listen to our emotions and when they feel good, we move towards them. When we're feeling good about something, that means we're moving towards the things that we desire in life. When we feel bad about things, we're moving away from things that we desire in life. Now, most people have been taught that things outside of themselves are what make them happy. For example, if you have tons of money, and I just finished reading a book called Start With Why, and in that book, this author was talking about how so many people who run huge corporations, for instance, end up feeling emptyless because they really haven't followed their own inner guidance. Yes, they have all the money that they would ever want in the world, but are they happy? No, and so our inner guidance tells us moment by moment how we're doing, if what we're doing is in alignment with our true spirit, our true self. So there's three examples I want to give from my own life, and honestly, this is a big chunk of my life where I was not listening to my inner guidance. Now, the first one, I have a doctorate degree in psychology. I got it from the Adler School of Professional Psychology in Chicago. And first of all, I have a teaching degree, a Bachelor of Education, and then a master's degree in counseling psych. And then I decided that I didn't know enough, I guess, and that perhaps it was better to get a doctorate degree. And I did that even though my inner guidance was really telling me that that wasn't the thing to do. But things in the outside world, that I would get a better job then, or it was, I don't even remember all of the reasons, but I do remember feeling like, feeling troubled about it. It was very expensive. It took an enormous amount of my time. And what I was learning was really not of interest to me. I really wasn't happy with the content that I was learning. Now, this degree, my doctorate degree, it took me 1 year away from my family. I was living in Vancouver, Canada. I had to move to Chicago for a whole year. It was some kind of rule that my school had. You had to be on the main campus for 1 year. And it cost, honestly, I think it was, for the whole doctorate degree, it was close to $100,000. With the plane tickets back and forth, with the cost of the books, the cost of the courses, it was enormously expensive. I had to pay for, all of the training that I got at practicums. Each credit I got with a practicum cost me money and cost me time that I wasn't getting paid for. So basically, for I think it was like 3 or 4 years, I was getting my master's and my doctorate degree without getting any money, and and with not feeling good about it. I just felt like it was, like I said, so I wasn't listening to my inner guidance. Here I got a doctorate degree, and as it turns out, I have used that doctorate degree not once to get a job that I want. I could have gotten all the jobs I've had with a master's degree. I was the director of a school of psychology in Vancouver. I could have got that job with a master's degree. I was a counselor at Simon Fraser University. I could have gotten that job with a counselor's degree. I was a counselor in high schools, and I could also have gotten that job with a master's degree. And so, so the time and the money that it cost my family, who didn't, at that time we didn't have a lot of money anyway. So that's one example from my life of when I didn't listen to my inner guidance and the enormous amount of stress it cost me and my family, really. Now, the second one is after my education degree and in between, between my education degree and my master's degree, I worked at a rape crisis center. And this was a center for women who had been battered and beaten and their children. And it was an enormously useful experience in lots of ways. But the group of women that ran that women's shelter, they believed that all men were potentially violent towards women. They believed that, they practiced that, they had all kinds of beliefs about men that I've come to know just are not true. Anyway, my husband, whose name was Russell, he's now passed on, he was a man who helped raise money for this women's shelter. And every once in a while, we'd get into a little bit of relationship difficulty, and I would go into my shift and I would talk a little bit about what was going on and that I was upset about something. And these women really tried to convince me that my husband wasn't good for me, and he was the kindest, gentlest man that I'd ever want to meet. And pretty soon, excuse me, I got something in my eye. Pretty soon, he was the one thing in my life that I knew was good for me, no matter what. I knew it with all my heart. He was absolutely my greatest support. He was my best friend. And so when these women started to talk in that way, I knew that, that they were not good for me. And I knew that their beliefs about men were not accurate. So what I now know is accurate is that, so the point about listening to your inner guidance is I didn't feel good around this group of people. And I continued to stay in that environment for, I think I worked there for close to 3 years. It was very destructive for my soul. And the whole time, my inner guidance was telling me that it was not a good place, and I did not listen. There was something within me that said that this was a cause that was worthy of being part of. And I now realize that if you're not happy, you can't contribute very much at all to anything. So anyway, finally, I made a decision to leave that group of women and not work there anymore. And by that time, I was feeling, quite ill because I had gone against my own guidance system. I had tried everything I could to keep myself healthy, but when you go against your own inner guidance, you can't help but get sick. And I left there because I knew they were wrong about my husband. I knew he was a wonderful man, absolutely knew it. And I now get that any man, when you understand the law of attraction, you never have beliefs like that, because the only time someone can ever do something violent to another person is if they are out of alignment with their true self, if they're in negative emotion, if they're in hate and anger and, revenge. My husband wasn't in any of those emotions. So if it's a man or a woman, great damage can be done if they continue to stay in those kinds of emotion, in revenge and anger, etc. So that was the second time I didn't listen to my inner guidance. I knew working at this place was not good for me. I could feel it, and there was another belief I had that somehow it was a worthy cause. And I really was I really had mixed beliefs that kept me unhappy and, feeling like feeling like I wasn't sure why what was wrong, but it was conflicting beliefs. The third example, so that's 3 more years of my life. The third example was my husband and I lived in Edmonton, Canada, Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, when we first met. And he owned a piece of land when I met him that was just outside the city of Edmonton, 2 hours away, close to the mountains. And it was 360 acres of land. Beautiful. It was on a hill. It was magnificent. We loved it. We were so happy there. And, I always felt happy there. I always felt at home there. And about a year and a half into our relationship, my husband asked if he said he would really like to move to Vancouver. And Vancouver was like 12 hours away from this land. And, there was something inside of me that said this wasn't good for me. But I didn't listen again. My husband wanted to go to Vancouver to work with this group of people who were working on violence against women. And there were signs at that time that this wasn't good for me. And the main sign was that I was so happy at this land, and I should never ever have agreed to move, because I knew it wasn't. I knew if I would have known what I know now, I never would have left. You know what I mean? So, because happiness is your clue that you're on the right track. If I had stayed in Edmonton at that land, I was happy. I was on the right track to my own well-being. And I went against that inner guidance again. And when I lived in Vancouver, we raised our 2 kids in Vancouver. I lived there for 20 years. And I never, ever felt at home, even though Vancouver is one of the most beautiful cities in the whole world. I always felt at home on the prairies, near the mountains, with the rolling hills. And never felt at home in Vancouver, which was at the ocean. And so again, 20 years living in a place where I never felt completely at home. It's not that I was totally unhappy or anything, but it was never where my heart was, and I didn't listen to that. I felt like somehow we should stay there, and pretty soon after a while, when you have kids and you've got, I was in school, and then my husband got cancer. It's hard to move. It would be difficult to move, and the funniest thing, the awfulest thing, is that we ended up having to sell that land in order to pay for my doctorate degree. Imagine. Oh, that's a heartbreaker. Anyway, I don't regret any of these mistakes. I just look back on them and I realize that I did not know then that it was really important to listen to my inner guidance and to consult with my higher self, which was my guidance, giving me guidance every single moment of the day. And I really feel like I'm in a position to talk about this and to teach about this now, because now that's all I do is listen to my inner guidance. I know when something's good for me and when something is not good for me. I trust myself. I understand the purpose of my emotions. When things feel good, they're good for you and me. And when things don't feel good, They are not good for me or you. And the more we listen to that inner guidance, the more happier we'll be in every area of life. Trust me on this. You know, you may not be able to, if you happen to be in a position right now where you're doing things that you know you're not happy doing, you know, you might not be able to get out of them this moment, but move towards things that make you happy. You know, um, I had such different beliefs back then that I got to this place where I didn't even know what made me happy because I had been following guidance from other people for so long. So you know what makes you happy, and you may have to work a little bit at that if you're as far gone as I was in terms of consulting my inner guidance. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say on this. I wanted to give you those 3 examples from my life. I'm sure everyone has examples of when they didn't follow their own inner guidance. And really, this video is to help anyone, become more mindful of what makes them happy, of what their inner guidance is telling them to do. And your feelings are the key. Joanie McMahon here, signing out. Hope this has been really helpful to you. You know, this is the first time I've told these 3 stories out loud on a video. So it tells me that I've really moved hugely, because before that I would feel like it wasn't okay to tell my stories of things that didn't go well. And I only tell those, I only am revisiting these stories today because I think they will be helpful to other people. So we learn through the example of our own life, through doing things. And I just don't want people to go through the amount of contrast that I've gone through. I am now at a place in my life where I feel really happy. I feel really proud of myself because I have been listening to my inner guidance for quite a few years now, and am in a completely different place. I spend most of my time feeling really good and proud of where I am and how I am and all of that. So signing out here again, I'll say it again. I'm going on and on. And have a great day. Joanie McMahon signing out. Bye for now.